Good afternoon, Judge. Thank you for joining us here today. Again, congratulations on being Judge of the Month for the Broward County Hispanic Bar Association. We're very delighted to have you and to recognize you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a privilege.
Thank you. So if you can start, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is actually Olga Maria Gonzalez Levine, and I was born here in the United States to parents of Cuban descent. I'm married 30 years last November. Oh, sorry. Sorry, honey. I have one son, Daniel. I'm a graduate of the University of Florida, double major, both undergrad and law school. And I've been was a practicing attorney for over 20 years before I decided to run for judge. And I think that experience really was helpful.
And what kind of, well, first of all, how old is your son? Let me ask.
He's 25. Well, he'll be 25 this month on the 23rd. So.
Okay. What kind of cases do you handle?
So right now I'm at the West Satellite Courthouse, and unfortunately, because I'm at the Satellite, I have the privilege of doing a lot of different things. I can do criminal and misdemeanor cases and civil small claims and regular civil cases up to the jurisdictional limit, which is now $30,000, and as well as traffic criminal cases, as well as traffic infractions where there's injuries or the attorneys request a judge to hear the case.
And how long have you been on the bench?
So I've been on the bench for, I would say, about 8 years now. I was reelected without opposition 2 years ago. So I started in 2012.
And have you always known that you wanted to be a judge, or is this something that you kind of came to the realization later in life?
No, that's something that developed out of my work as an attorney in the courthouse. I was a litigator. I was in the courtroom day in and day out for the majority of my career. I started as a public defender. I went into private practice for a while. Then I went back to the public defender's office. My passion was representing children and adults with special needs, either intellectual disabilities or mental health consumers. And it was through that work that I got inspired to become a judge. I felt that there was a real need for someone with my experience to be on the bench, because so many people have misconceptions of what it means to be a mental health consumer involved in the criminal justice system. And I wanted them to have someone that is going to be disposing their cases, or someone they're going to appear that would understand the challenges that they face and not have any preconceived notions that would make them feel like they were being treated more harshly. So many people feel that they're inherently dangerous, which is just not true because of their mental illness, you know. And so I felt that I had something different to offer that maybe wasn't quite that prevalent on the bench.
And let me ask, I apologize, I don't think you mentioned it. How did you first come on the bench? Were you appointed, or did you run for election?
So I ran for election. I first ran for election in 2010, but was unsuccessful. And then I chose to run again because I did feel that this was my calling, that I was meant to at least try to do this. I felt that I had something to add. So I ran again and I was successful. And that's something that I like to tell people all the time is, you know, if you really listen to your heart as to what you feel your purpose is, even if you don't succeed initially, you know, you have to reflect, you know, look back, evaluate your life, your choices, what makes you happy, and try again. You may need to tweak it. So I changed it from circuit court to county court because I thought, well, maybe it's because I'm supposed to be doing the people's court, having more of a broad range of access and not be so niched as a circuit court judge would be, because, you know, you're much more tailored in circuit court as to what you do. And so I decided to run again, but this time I changed my focus to county court. And I'm glad I did, because I'm so happy being a county court judge. And I really feel that my experience and my demeanor is suited for county court and what we call the people's court. Even though we have many attorneys, you know, here in front of us, we also have a lot of lay people that really need someone that understands the reality of what it is to be working and living in this community today.
And as a plantation resident, I can personally say we're very grateful to have you here. You have a great group of judges over there in the West Satellite Courthouse. So
we do.
Can you talk a little bit about how your family has influenced your life as a judge?
So I grew up in Hollywood, Florida, which was not very Hispanic growing up, but my family was very traditional Hispanic. My father insisted that we speak Spanish in the home, and I'm so grateful to him because it has been a great advantage to be bilingual, especially in South Florida. Today, it's so much more culturally diverse. But growing up, there was just a small group of us, and we all knew each other, and we were friends that were also Latinos. It wasn't quite so large like it is today, but that helped me see how the challenges sometimes you can face when you're the odd man out and you're not part of the majority. That gave you a nice understanding of how people can look at you differently and how frustrating it could be, because I witnessed this with my mother, the language barrier. So I always had to assist her or do translations. So that was a good experience to be there now as a judge, sitting and watching other people come in front of me, feeling challenged, whether it be some other foreign language or just a cultural difference that sometimes we don't understand, and how we react to the court system based on your cultural bias.
I can certainly appreciate that. And I've actually, on networking events recently, heard a lot of Hispanic judges say similar things, that a lot of the individuals that have come before them that are from countries with dictatorships or forms of government that are different than what we have here in America, they're kind of afraid of the judicial system. And it really is incumbent upon our judiciary to let them know that, no, things are different here. You do have an impartial individual here, and it's not like the situation you may have seen somewhere else. So
Exactly.
can you just talked about it a little bit? Can you speak a little more about how your cultural heritage has influenced your life, both on or off the bench?
So having grown up in a household from Cuban, I like to say refugees because they're not really immigrants. They didn't choose to come to the United States. They were political refugees. It also made me very cognizant of how fortunate I was to be an American. Um, and I wanted to do something with my life that gave back to this country in thanks for the opportunities it provided to my parents and myself. I did not take it for granted. It's not an assumed thing. When you're raised in a household where your cousins and your uncles, and you cannot communicate with them, where you know that they're hungry and they don't have access to food regularly, and they're waiting in lines, when they're sneaking letters asking you to find a way to send medicines because someone's in need, you see it firsthand how lucky we are. And that had a grand impact on me because I wanted to become a lawyer to be able to help other people that needed help, that felt that they couldn't help themselves. Initially, it was, the idea of, oh, I'm going to be an immigration attorney so others can experience the benefits, help others experience the benefits that I had. But it evolved into criminal law. I ended up doing criminal law because I found a passion for it, and I just loved it from the first day that I sat in a criminal class. I was like, oh, it's like watching a movie every day. It was so entertaining. But nonetheless, I became a public defender because I did want to help those that were less fortunate, that needed my assistance to be able to help them navigate a system that can affect your entire life and your family's life. And I'm grateful that I was able to do that. But I don't know that I would have necessarily chosen this path had I not firsthand felt such a need to be of service to others, some way to show my gratitude for all the riches that, having been born in America and my parents having been accepted here, meant to me firsthand. I mean, it was difficult growing up because I remember my mother, trying to talk to her brother in Cuba and trying to use a shortwave radio because you can't use the phone, because if they know you're talking to America, it go badly for them. Or, someone secretly bringing a letter because they really can't be seen posting letters to family in America because it was frowned upon. Things have changed a lot for the better with the opening of Cuba. But back when I was growing up, it was during the hard times. It was doing, the things in Cuba were quite severe. And it was difficult for them to reach out and communicate with us because it could cause problems for them. And so I knew that, and it made a difference.
Do you have any advice that you want to share, whether it be with current law students or newly barred attorneys, somebody that's really trying to take that first step towards community involvement, as far as how they can go about doing that?
It's it's hard for me. I don't want other people to go the way I did it because I was very alone in the process. I went to law school. First day, I didn't know anybody. Me, myself, a piece of paper and a backpack, didn't know what to expect. When I became a lawyer, I was sworn in at the bodega for the notary because I didn't know anybody in the legal system, no one to guide me. So, learn from my experience. And I would say, so when new law students come to me, I said, you need to get a study group. You need to find others like yourself that you can study with, that can guide you. Try to do moot court, join the clubs while you're in law school, because that'll help you meet other people that like to be involved, and hopefully that'll carry you into when you become a lawyer. It's great for networking, all these things that no one told me because I didn't know anybody in the legal profession. But now I can't wait to tell every student, please volunteer, whether it's in a legal, you can start with the legal clubs or the clubs that are around you, but you can branch it out to whatever your interest is. It doesn't have to be legally related. It could be a charitable organization. It could be whatever. If you like animals, if you have someone in the family for leukemia or heart or whatever speaks to you, being involved in your community exposes you to other people. And through that exposure, I encourage you to then volunteer to be a secretary or, become a leadership position. Don't let fear hold you back, because you'll be surprised. I actually was nominated to be the president of the Hispanic bar in law school. And it shocked me that someone would think that I could have that kind of a leadership position, and I won. And that was like, wow, I don't know that I would have thought of that myself. So I encourage you to don't wait for someone else to suggest something to you. Look around you and see, who do you admire? Who do you recognize as doing something that you think is good, and maybe follow in their footsteps. Certainly, I'm here available if anybody wants to talk about their plans or their futures, or they just have questions. My door is always open because I want to help encourage you and guide you if I can, so that you don't do it the hard way like I did.
I really appreciate that. That's excellent advice that resonates with myself and my experience as well. So thank you for that. Okay, now I'm really going to get into the tough questions here. What is your favorite Cuban food?
So I'm a big lechon asado fan, traditional black beans and rice, lechon asado, that's my favorite. But any Cuban food I actually love, and Italian. I can't go wrong with pasta either, but those are my favorites.
Okay, I can again appreciate that as an Italian American and my wife being Cuban American. So excellent, good answer.
I thought my son, my poor gringo son, so my husband's, Jewish and American, and my son doesn't like black beans and rice. And I was like, what's wrong with you? How can you not like black beans and rice? I fed them to you when you were a baby.
Now, do you have any pets?
We are dog lovers. We've always had dogs. Right now we have two. One's a golden retriever, one's a golden doodle mix. That she's a COVID puppy. We got the puppy during COVID because you're home and you can dog a trainer. But we've always had dogs, all kinds, and I love them. I'm a big pet lover, but I love any animal actually.
Okay, I might need to reach out to you about the information on the puppy, because I think we're about to be a COVID dog family as well with everything going on.
It's very common.
Yeah. Thank you again for your time. Is there anything else you want to share with us before we end?
Yeah, the only thing I'd like to say is, having been raised in a very strict cultural Cuban household, as a woman, we weren't always encouraged to put ourselves out there, to toot our own horn. We actually are the ones that served. I served my father first, my brother second, and we're used to giving and doing. And so, and throughout the years, I've had maybe some people not feel that I could rise to the level that, God has granted me the privilege to be today. And so I'd like to encourage people to don't let anybody else define who you are and what your potential is. Don't step back, or, I know it's uncomfortable sometimes for women to put themselves out there, to ask for that raise, to go into the office and say, listen, I can handle this, but I encourage you to try. I encourage you to make an effort to go beyond your comfort zone and reach for the stars, because if don't succeed the first time, you may the second or third time, and you won't know until you try. And so that's the one thing I want to encourage people to do, is think and reflect as to where you want to be and what makes you happy and what brings you joy, and then strive to find a work home balance that fulfills those goals. Because no one should be stuck in a job that they hate and living every day thinking I just am doing what I need to do for my family, because you can do both. The career that I started isn't where I ended. It developed by reflection of where I want to go and what I want to be and how I want to be of service. And I think you have to reflect on yourself as, am I where I want to be? Where do I want to go? Look on that, and don't let anyone tell you, oh, that can't happen. Give it a shot.
That is truly, truly exceptional advice. So thank you so much, Judge. Appreciate your time. We appreciate your thoughts. And again, congratulations.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.